2024 meeting of the Local Agency Formation Commission at 2:30. We are meeting in the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors chambers on Zoom for the public. At this point, the clerk will explain how both written and spoken public comments can be made by attendees of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For members of the public, the instructions of how to participate in today's meeting may be found on the published agenda. These instructions provide information on how to submit written comments and how to participate on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the roll call.
Commissioner Big Stick,
Present.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Present.
Commissioner Mueller, Commissioner Warbeck,
Here.
Commissioner Slocum,
Here.
Vice Chair Martin, and Chair Draper.
Here.
Thank you, Chair. You have a forum.
Thank you. We also have Executive Officer Rob Bortoli, Management Analyst Sophia Ricaldi, and we have somebody from the County Council on
Yes,
Zoom.
we have Council Kelsey Moyura on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. We are now going to item 2, which is open to public comments for items not on the agenda and consent calendar. Please note that LAFCo meetings are a limited public forum and all public comments must relate to something that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. If comments do not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, we will stop the comment and move on to the next speaker. The county attorney will assist in identifying comments that are not related to the subject matter of the board. Do we have any written or oral comments, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will first call upon members on Zoom, followed by participants in person. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you're calling by phone to indicate your desire to speak. And at this time, Madam Chair, we have nobody wishing to speak in chambers or on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, now we will go on to item number 3, which is the appointment of the chair and vice chair for 2024. And Rob, you have a presentation?
Thank you, Chair Draper. And if I may, if the commission would like to move this item to later into the agenda as potentially the potential chair for 2024 and vice chair for 2024 are currently not in chambers.
Right.
So if you care to move that to later in the agenda, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, let's go to item number 4.
If we can, if the commission wishes to, we can move it towards between item 9 and 10, the quarterly budget information update and a legislative policy committee update.
Okay.
And we'll revisit this item then.
Okay. All right, on to 4. We'll now move on.
If I may, so the commission should also make a motion to move the item.
Okay. So this would move item number 3 to between 9 and 10. Is there a motion to change the agenda as so noted?
I'll move.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's all right, Virginia. She wins.
No, you have to second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Thank you. So that was a motion by Commissioner Chang Corrali and a second by Commissioner Warbeck. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Warbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Chair Draper.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, now we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent calendar, which is the approval of the action minutes for November 15th, 2023, an extension of time, LAFCo file 19-03, proposed annexation of 252 Club Drive in unincorporated San Mateo County. Do we have a motion for item number 4?
To approve the consent calendar?
Yes.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Chang Corrali and a second by Commissioner Big Stick. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Warbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Chair Draper.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 5. It's a consideration of LAFCO file number 20-10. It's a proposed annexation of 4 parcels known as 608 Harbor Boulevard and associated right-of-way to the city of Belmont from unincorporated San Mateo County and detachment from the Harbor Industrial Sewer Maintenance District and Belmont Highway Lighting District. And Rob, you have a presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Draper. So before you today is an annexation proposed by the property owners for 4 parcels. Again, it's LAFCO file 20-10. With the parcels are collectively known as 608 Harbor and the associated right-of-way to the city of Belmont from the unincorporated San Mateo County and detachments from the Harbor Industrial Sewer Maintenance District, which provides sewer, and the Belmont Highway Lighting District, which is the county maintained district. Go to the next slide. Cool. The property owners at 608 Harbor are proposing to annex these parcels to the city of Belmont and detach from those 2 districts, as I had mentioned. The project proposes to consolidate the 4 parcels and developing the 0.071 acre lot at the northwest corner of Harbor Boulevard and Old County with multifamily housing. There's also an annexation of associated right-of-way on Old County Boulevard and Harbor Boulevard, Old County Road. The project is proposed to be developed a 5-story multifamily residential building with 103 housing units and 69 parking spaces. It's also known as the Windy Hill project, that's referred to as the staff report. There's 100% consent from the property owners, and as part of the approval, LAFCO staff is requesting that the commission approve the conducting authority proceedings for protest be waived. The commission approval is also recommended for the overall project. This is a general map of the area. The area that proposed to be annexed is in blue. The existing boundaries of the city of Belmont are shown in red. The red area, as I mentioned, there are the boundaries. They stop on Old County Road. This annexation would include Old County Road up to the center part of Harbor Boulevard where the intersection is, and then center line to Harbor Boulevard parallel with the project area. There is no proposed annexation of Elmer Road right-of-way. Regarding the sphere of influence for this city of Belmont, the Harbor Industrial area with the remaining unincorporated portions of it are wholly within the sphere of influence for the city of Belmont, shown on this map here. The civic parcels are located also within the service area of the Harbor Industrial Sewer Maintenance District and the Belmont Highway Lighting District. The sphere of influence of Belmont was most recently adopted in 2021 by LAFCO. And again, that included the remainder of the Harbor Industrial area that is unincorporated, along with another portion of unincorporated area up around the Club Drive area. The proposed properties, the properties within the proposed annexation area are currently developed with light industrial uses. The current San Mateo County general plan designation for the area is general industrial and urban, and the zoning is light industrial. The city of Belmont has applied a general plan designation for village corridor mixed use and has pre-zoned the property as village corridor mixed use in the area, which allows this type of development to be proposed. Changes to proposed services within the annexation area. For police, it would shift from the sheriff's office to the city of Belmont. Fire, it would remain within the Belmont fire protection area. Streets and stormwater would then be provided by the city of Belmont through this annexation. The water service would not change. Sewer service would switch from a county maintained district to the city of Belmont. Street lighting would as well, along with parks. Library would not be changed. The properties that are currently connected to the Harbor Sewer Maintenance District, which I had mentioned, is a county governed special district. And as part of the proposal, the properties would detach from the Harbor Industrial Sewer District and then would be served by the city of Belmont for sewer services. Annexation to the city and detachment for the districts will also result in a transfer of service responsibility, as I had mentioned, for police, streets, stormwater, sewer, parks, and recreation functions. The city of Belmont and the county of San Mateo have adopted regarding the property tax exchange that is required as part of the annexation and detachment process. Because it is wholly detaching from the Harbor Industrial Sewer Maintenance District and the Belmont Highway Lighting District, those tax incremental factors will be transferred wholly to the city. And then there was also a portion of county property tax that would be transferred to the city as well. And those resolutions were adopted by both the county and the city in 2023. There are several factors for LAFCO staff and the commission to consider for the annexation, including population and growth. The proposed annexation will allow the city of Belmont to implement the city's adopted Belmont Village specific plan, which promotes economic development and provides much needed housing in the area. As the proposals increase, was anticipated to increase by 160 residents, but the city does not anticipate additional growth directly related to this annexation. The proposal conforms with LAFCO and the county's general plan policies encouraging annexations of areas within cities SOIs, and that would reduce unincorporated areas within the harbor industrial area that requires county services. So that would allow the city to provide those services to those new residents in a more efficient manner. It also conforms to county policies regarding right-of-way, as Old County and Harbor Boulevard, which we utilized for this project. Some portions of that would then be annexed to the city and be the city's responsibility. The annexation is consistent with both the city and the county general plan, along with the sphere of influence. The city has stated there is capacity and revenue to serve the property for services, and the water district will continue to be the provider. There will be no changes to that particular issue. The project also will contribute positively towards the city's fair share of regional housing, as there will be 16 affordable units of 103 proposed units as part of the development. Regarding environmental review, in 2017, the city of Belmont certified a programmatic final environmental impact report, or FEAR, for the Belmont 2035 general plan to approve certain zoning and different changes within the harbor industrial area, along with pre-zoning the area. The general plan EIR analyzed potential impacts and required that any individual development comply with mitigation measures that were found in the general plan mitigation and monitoring report. The city conducted a consistency analysis for this particular project at 608 Harbor, and the proposal and the checklist did not find any new environmental impacts that the general plan and EIR did not anticipate, and determined that the proposal was consistent with the existing land use policies, and there was no further analysis required. As part of this, there is a determination in the recommendation regarding CEQA that I'll get to in just a moment for the commission to act on. So the following recommendations are to the commission is: by motion, certify that the commission has reviewed and considered the Belmont Village specific plan environmental impact report and subsequent addendum for the Windy Hill project, including any findings, and that the mitigation and monitoring program prepared by the city of Belmont as the lead agency, and that the mitigation measures are within the responsibility and jurisdiction of the city of Belmont and not within the responsibility and jurisdiction of San Mateo LAFCo. And then by resolution, approve LAFCO file number 20-10, the proposed annexation of 4 parcels and associated right-of-way to the city of Belmont from the unincorporated San Mateo County, and detachment from the Harbor Industrial Sewer Maintenance District and Belmont Highway Lighting Districts, and then direct the executive officer to waive the conducting authority related to the protest proceedings. I believe the applicant is online, and there is staff here from the city of Belmont if there is any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions that the commissioners have of staff or the Belmont staff? I have a question, and maybe this is to the Belmont staff, and that is are there sewer laterals in the area so that the new development can plug? I get the administrative and the taxing changes, but this is more of the practical development capacity.
Yes, Carlos Camillo, Community Development Director, City of Belmont. Thank you for taking it up beside him.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yes, there is There are sewer laterals in the area. There is a connection that would be achieved on Elmer Street that would then transition to O'Neill, then would transition to the city's line at the end of
Okay.
O'Neill. So there is capacity and there is a way to get sewer for this project that doesn't go along Harbor Boulevard.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right. Now we'll open for any public comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 0 speakers wishing to speak in chambers, and at this time, we do not have any virtual hands on Zoom for item number 5.
Thank you. We'll now close the public comment period for item 5, and we'll begin discussion for item 5. Are there any comments from the commission? Seeing none, do we have a
No,
motion?
I,
Oh, you do have a comment?
I-
Sir?
Yeah,
I didn't see you, sorry.
it's all right. I see that only 15% of the housing units in the Windy Hill project are set aside for affordable housing. In my opinion, that's not enough. I'm not gonna vote against this annexation based on that, but I would like to be on the record that we need much more affordable housing everywhere in the county. And this is one example where I don't think there's enough. Thank you.
All right, we'll reopen public comment.
We're definitely doing our part within the city of Belmont. We actually have a ton of projects, some all affordable. In fact, 2 of them have been approved within the last year, 125 unit project and a 37 unit project. This project does provide the statutory minimum. So they meet all of the tests, but we've been hardworking at trying to create opportunities for housing both within Belmont. Certainly, this is a great opportunity site as well on Old County and Harwood, but thank you, and we certainly appreciate the comment.
Okay, we'll re-close the public comment, and any other commission comments before we go for motions?
I'll just echo what Commissioner Rohrbeck said, but then add that it's also understood that we do need housing for all income levels. And so desperately desirous of low income housing in my city. I think that this development is going to be a blessing top to bottom. So kudos for finding 103 units in one shot.
We have a motion for item 5.
I'll move.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Mueller and a second by Commissioner Chang Corrali. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin, Chair Draper.
Yes,
Thank you, Chair. Motion carried.
thank you. Good luck. And Godspeed. All right. We're now going on to item number 6, which is information item only on the Broadmoor Police Protection District.
So thank you, Chair. I have a brief presentation. So the staff report makes mention that on December 1st, 2023, the County Treasurer Tax Collector's Office did transfer the Broadmoor Police Protection District's funds from the county general investment pool into an independent bank account. And the Treasurer's Office is collaborating with the Controller's Office to make sure that any deposits of property tax are collected into the right accounts and to ensure that revenue is then handled efficiently for the district. And then subsequent to that, there were 2 meetings in January for the Broadmoor Police Protection District. The second meeting on January 9th was probably the more informative one. And then at that meeting, the Broadmoor Police Protection District staff presented a financial update regarding kind of the fiscal conditions of the district. As part of that report, it was mentioned that there was a reduction in staffing to full-time officers only, but it's a little bit unclear regarding the exact number of both officers and of staff that's currently being utilized by the district, as the district presented numbers to LAFCo staff that were slightly contradictory towards the numbers that were presented at that meeting. So we're looking for some clarity from district staff, and hopefully we'll have that soon. As part of the financial report that was presented on the 9th, it's the district states that while payroll has been down for this fiscal year, insurance and legal costs continue to rise. And then also the January 9th meeting, the Broadmoor Police Protection District decided not to engage with a consulting firm at this time regarding a proposed ballot measure for November. It seemed in speaking with district staff, it seems that possibility might be still looked at in the future with either another consulting firm or the same consulting firm, but with a different quote or price. But at least at this time, they have not engaged a consultant to work with them on a potential ballot measure. So that is our current update. I don't know if staff is from BPPD is on the call or not today. But if there are questions for me or additional direction to staff, I'm happy to try to answer those. That concludes the report.
Okay, are there any questions of staff? No, I have a few, but I'll just see to my other commissioners. I'm guessing that we had a matrix, I'll call it, of recommendations. We've focused on financial items, but that matrix had a lot of other items that we've not seen any, I'm guessing, updates, changes as it relates to those items.
Not that I'm aware of. There has been discussion about, again, kind of when I have talked with Chief Connolly, there's been discussion that they're working on kind of putting together this financial document that can show the fiscal health of the district. I don't know the current form of that document, but I also don't know the extent of whether or not that would cover other items that we have highlighted as part of the special study when it talks about, administrative duties and concerns about policy and transparency and those things. I know they're taking efforts to that, but I don't know if they're actually putting something together that would show what those complete efforts are at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Rebecca.
Every meeting at LAFCo in the last year, we have heard nothing positive about the direction that the citizens of Broadmoor are going to experience with their public safety. So this is just one more example of what I've been pointing out makes it really problematic that this district can continue to exist the way it has been and thumb its noses basically at the rest of the county. Period. Thank you.
Are we taking public comment?
We are, but I'm just,
Because I have comments, but I'm not sure to wait
Okay.
on the other side or not.
alrighty, public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, there is nobody wishing to speak in chambers. And we do have one virtual hand raised on Zoom from Andrea Hall. Ms. Hall, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I just want to thank you for continuing to pay attention to this. I'm pretty well aware that it's easy to get discouraged. As Commissioner Rohraback just said, they continue to thumb their nose, even though the financial problems are manifest. And it's just been a thoroughly frustrating experience over the last year plus. And so I just want to thank you for your continued attention to this and request that LAFCo do. I know, there's a limit on what you can do under state law and the government code, but I would deeply appreciate any steps that you can take to ensure that we're not just paying taxes to pay pensions for people who robbed the department. And to pay for insurance for a department that can't even afford to hire officers. Like, what are they even insuring at this point? Anyway, I mean, I don't have any concrete steps to suggest that LAFCo take at this point. But I just want to thank you for your continued attention to this matter, and I'll see the remainder of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. And with that, Madam Chair, we have no further hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close the public comment and now we'll get to commission discussion. Commissioner Dixon.
Thank you, Chair. In my council meetings, I'm a big fan of telling long stories that are personal, and I'll spare you the long version. But once upon a time, I came to the conclusion I was definitely going in the wrong direction. At which point I walked down to the Ace Hardware because I didn't have a car. I bought the thing to patch up the wall where I'd create a hole. I walked my butt down to Safeway. I got a job, and a few months later, I promise it won't be that long. And a few months later, I was on an upward trajectory again. But punchline is, here I sit. It's really hard for me over the course of a year in which we have made statements in no uncertain terms. And thank you for bringing up the matrix, because I wasn't sure how to address at this point the morass we still see before us. But the lack of transparency is so irksome to me. A year later, and I still don't have a clear sense of financials. I still don't have a clear sense of what their staff is. I still don't have a clear sense if anybody has put any actual work into making anything better. And I'll stop there at this point.
Anyone else? Yes. Oh. Thanks.
Thank you. I know it's kind of out of sequence, but Rob, could you tell us what our options are at this point? What can this board do other than just kind of harass Connolly?
So we have discussed kind of at previous meetings
Yeah.
about what potential options there are for the commission from a standpoint of action or standpoint of certain other reports that could be done. There could be additional documentation that could be done by LAFCo staff, whether that be through another MSR or an update to the special study, kind of to bring us to up to date to today's time. There was the discussions that we kind of laid out about potential processes for LAFCo to initiate certain action, and those various timelines. Again, in any kind of initiation from the LAFCo commission, there has to be that plan for service. There has to then be the agreements with the county and various service providers about how that plan for service would look and come together. So it makes these types of initiations somewhat challenging for LAFCo, because LAFCo is not the agency that would ultimately be providing the services, would not be the one being able to put together that type of plan for service. It really has to be a collaborative effort. And so there are some options for the commission to initiate, or there's, again, more formal actions that we could take regarding studies or otherwise putting together information on the district that we have kind of. This is more informal way that we've been doing it as these monthly updates to the commission.
Thank you.
Would perhaps a baby step, but taking all the work that we've done and putting into a formal MSR, I think we have almost all of the data for an MSR. It's putting it into the format. Do you have an idea of how long that would take staff to convert not only the information that's required in an MSR, but also incorporating all of the information that we've had in the LAFCo response and all of that into it? Would it be March that could be back to us?
If not in a draft format in March, certainly then by May. I think it would probably be, we probably would, if we had a request for an MSR to be initiated and to kind of follow up on that. We have a lot of the information that we could put together for that update. There are some things that we would need to follow up the district on, and I will want to be mindful of giving them time to be able to respond to provide that information. So March, we might be able to do it, but probably by May, I would certainly say we would have a document in hand with adequate time then for the district to be able to respond to our inquiries and data requests if we have any additional ones.
Because I would be interested in taking that step just to the commission of moving it into a full MSR, because it will also provide if they're paying attention, the public with information, fuller information. And the commission, the Special District Commission. And also provides a platform for further actions should we want to take them. So when we get down to budget and legislative policy committees, which is, I think, the next item, that's something that I think I'm going to propose that we'd be interested in doing. Any other dialogue?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but there was a late virtual hand that went up on Zoom, so I'll leave that up if you want to call on the last public speaker.
Okay, why don't we take commission comments first and then we'll go back. Yes, Commissioner Rohrbach, we do that.
I agree with Chair Draper. I really think that producing an MSR will give us the basis on which we could proceed in an effective way. So I second her idea that we need to formally request an MSR of the district.
Other comments? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Yes.
Thank you. I'm having difficulty finding, do they publish their agenda on their website or their minutes?
So it is somewhat challenging. It seems that they publish their agenda for their most recent meeting. And then once there's a new agenda, that meeting is then, the agenda is then removed. I think the last set of meeting minutes that's on their website is from November. The January 9th agenda is, at least as of this afternoon when I was looking, it was on their webpage still. And I think there might have been a set of minutes. Actually, I don't think there was a set of minutes in for their January 2nd meeting. So a lot of the information that I've gotten about what has happened at their 9th meeting has been direct conversations with Chief Connolly about what occurred at those meetings.
All right, so I was trying to figure out if there was any indication that they may still be moving toward bankruptcy. Do we know that?
From what I have been told, is that there was an action on the November 9th meeting to rescind the resolution regarding bankruptcy direction and insolvency. However, I have not seen a resolution with that action, and I don't know the outcome of that when I asked Chief Connolly. I haven't seen anything in writing.
Yeah, I'm wondering actually if I'd be very curious to know if the advice would be to declare bankruptcy before going to the ballot with a revenue measure. So there's an interplay there that I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the import is on one on the other. And so, but the fact that they're not moving forward with the revenue measure, and there was at one time talk of bankruptcy, makes me wonder if there's some interplay. The thing that keeps coming into my mind is that at some point, let's imagine if you're going to look at the tree of possible outcomes, the only way that the district survives is if they get that revenue measure and then, somehow are able to drop down either their obligations through cutting service or obligations through intervention of court. Right. And so, but in either circumstance, the question is, what's the level of service that's provided to the residents who seem to want to keep the district, at least from what we hear. So I think we're still in that we're in the position based on your report that the risk to the rest of the pool is gone. They're headed, based on everything that we know, toward bankruptcy, whether they declare it or not. They're headed toward insolvency, or they're not going to be providing any services at all. So, but they're not asking for anything of us. They're not asking for anything of the county at this point, right?
Not that I'm aware of. No, not the LAFCo.
Well, no, that's it. There's not to LAFCO, but are there other county departments, sorry to jump in, that they're asking because at one public hearing, one of the speakers talked about reducing the price for things that they have to pay for, like the crime lab and other services that the county pay for. And so are there other service requests or financial requests of the county that would reduce their costs that we are aware of?
I'm not aware of any from the board perspective right now. At one point, there was a discussion at the board where there might have been a proposal to ask for the board to help with aid, but that was dropped.
Correct.
And so I'm not aware of anything pending before the county right now where they're asking for any resources. So it sounds, if they're not moving forward, do we know what the date is by which they would have to go ahead and put something on the ballot? Has it already passed?
I believe their target election is November. And if I recall from previous meetings, I think the idea is that it's 88 days roughly, that when you would have to have a ballot measure prepared for November. So somewhere in August or so, August, September, would potentially be the timeline.
So the biggest question that I would have as a resident Broadmoor is what could possibly be the level of service that I'm being provided from now until then? Right? Like that's the biggest question, is what's the level of service I'm being provided between now and then? So I personally think we're still in a position where we're just gathering information for the residents of Broadmoor who are going to have to make a decision. And I think it's not going to be a very good year for the Broadmoor department. I think that picture gets worse but the other truth of the matter is if this agency can find its way through its process, and if the residents of Broadmoor want to forgive what has happened and take on that obligation, assuming we have all the information to present them, that's their election. So I think where I kind of sit right now on this board is I think we have a duty to collect as much information as possible, reduce the risk to the pool and to the county, and then just keep collecting information with respect to what the level of service is and what the challenges are, so that when the voters have that, because even if we were to go down the path of recommending the solution, at the end of the day, the voters are going to have to vote. Yeah.
Yes.
And I agree with that. I mean, I expected actually to have something today, especially after, I mean, more than what we got, especially after the pool money or the money being moved out of the pool. And I guess the only way that I think that we can help make the process as transparent as possible is continuing to collect information, and then through our meetings impart the information to the public, because it seems to me that they are not, it's not even that they're not being transparent, which is a problem, because I mean, I know that I had problems when I went to their one meeting about, finding the agenda and then the minutes, which were not that great. But they don't seem to be willing, and I'm going to kind of lay the blame on Chief Conley, since he is basically the chief public administrator of the district, that he doesn't seem to even want to provide information. That's what it's, I'm totally speculating. So, I mean, I kind of agree with what the chair is saying about an MSR review. But how can we put in deadlines? The rest of this commission has listened to all of this much longer than I have, and I'm already really impatient about not having information. So can we set deadlines for getting information? Because our meetings are only every other month, right? And this is moving fast. And if what Ray is saying, and I'm not going to speculate what their strategy is, but if they are trying to leverage different positions for an election or bankruptcy or whatever, I mean, August is not that far into the future if you look at how many meetings we have, right? So can we set deadlines for information gathering from them? I mean, because they're not doing it, is what I'm saying. By March. Well, by March.
I was hoping by
right?
March or whenever, so that they could be used by the public, and maybe we have a special meeting, because the MSR has a format And I think we're gonna have to extract information that's almost like talking points for the public. Cause I just don't think that their special district commissioners are engaging. To me, that's what I see. Their elected officials are not engaging in the issues that are before them. And so, but I do think that we have some questions. One was just posed, just what's the service level? And because it occurred to me that if they wanted to pay for a first class service level, that's their decision. If they want to pay for the lowest level of service, that's their decision of what they're going to have. But they need clear information. And I've been to that website several times and I have not been able to find what I was looking for. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't, so I'm sort of, it's going to be up to the voters whether or not they want to sort of figure out a way to bail the district out. But the one question, there's still a question that's also outstanding that I really want to know is that, and that the voters I think should know is that should the voters, because we've talked about this before, and I think at one time I got an answer that they'd be on the hook, and the second time Mr. Fox wasn't sure. And so I want to ask this again, and I think to get clarity around this is that if the voters pass a revenue measure and then the district goes bankrupt thereafter, are they still on the hook for the assessment that's that assessment? And I think that's something that's going to be that I think would weigh in the mind of voters, and they need to understand, have a very clear distinction on. So if this board wants to move forward with an MSR with the idea that we're just using it to inform the public as to what the status is of this district, then I'd be supportive of that. But I don't want that to be interpreted. What I don't want to be interpreted is that this board is looking to dissolve the district. Right now, we're just trying to get data to share with the public, so it's a transparent, so the public can make its decision of the way to move forward.
That's exactly what my
Kind of be the makeshift public information distributor, right?
Any other comments before we go to the public comment? Commissioner Martin?
Rob, when a new district is. Thanks, Harvey. You're gonna get a babysitter. When a new district is formed, in the ballot measure, are there promises made? Or is there some sort of contractual language that obligates the district to provide a particular level of service?
So let's say for a level example, because I can't recall off the top of my head whether if you have to go to an election for the formation of a district, you have to go to an election for the formation of a city. Well, I'll use that as an example. But to my knowledge, while there may be statements that say this is the level of service that would be provided in favor of the formation of this type of entity, I don't know if there's a legal requirement to make factual statements of saying we will guarantee a level of service. I don't know if that would be really an enforceable thing, even if they made those kind of statements, because budgets could fluctuate. You could see changes in levels of service that may necessitate that may be needed for certain reasons. So I can't say with certainty whether or not they would have to say something like that, or they could. Now, in this case, if it's a ballot measure or an existing district and what those funds are be used for, I think there has to be clarity about what those funds would be utilized by the district for, whether they maintain a certain level of service. I don't know if they need to make that statement.
The one last thing I would add, just for transparency, is if after we do the MSR and after we get the answer to the legal questions and after we go down that route, if it is the worst possible scenario, then at that time I actually won't have a problem making a recommendation to the public as maybe perhaps it should be dissolved. But if through that process they can somehow make the case that they can pull this out for the public, then that would be a different outcome.
All right, let's go to the
Yeah,
one.
and a different recommendation.
Yes. We're still, as I understand it, all the options that were laid out are still there. We're just trying to get more clarity. Okay, we had one more item, one more hand.
Yes, Madam Chair. So we have John Aguirre wishing to speak.
Good afternoon. This is John Aguirre Commission. Do I have you?
Yes, go ahead.
Wonderful. Want to thank you all very much for your time. 22 years almost as a Broadmoor resident. Could you please define for me exactly MSR?
Certainly, a municipal service review is what's being referred to as an MSR.
Thank you. So I've heard a couple of different terms today, harass and forgiveness. It seems to me that the lack of information you received, I heard the matrix reference. I just want to make sure, or I'm very hopeful, that the matrix very clearly spells out to our community exactly what is being looked for, because I don't want to miss any steps there. I think it's very important. I appreciate the fact that you feel as if you can provide the service of educating our public as well. My question there is this meeting forum the only / primary means of the public getting that information? My reason for asking is I do get requests about LAFCo, what's going on with LAFCo, and I've tried to refer the website, but I want to make sure I know exactly what avenues I can share to the community so that they can keep up on the information that you are providing. Hello?
Are the, Mr. Aguirre, are those the end of your comments? You had a question, but is that the end?
Well, not so much the end. I just, I know that there is a lot of support. And again, if it, as you stated, it comes down to the voters. Ultimately, I am very hopeful that we can come to some kind of an agreement or process that will allow our institution to continue. And yes, if you could please reply to that question, I would appreciate that a great deal. And thank you again very much for your time, your care, and your attention to this matter.
Thank you. All right. Staff, if you would, thank you, Mr. Aguirre. If you could briefly respond.
Yes, in response to kind of the information about the municipal service review and any kind of other studies that we've done for Broadmoor, we do have a page dedicated to Broadmoor about all on our reports and kind of the updates that we have given. Also, as part of the special study process, we have presented to the Broadmoor Police Protection Commission, and we presented at least twice, if I can recall, to the Broadmoor Property Owners Association. And I would envision any kind of, if direction is given to staff about conducting an MSR and then bringing it back to the commission for review, I can envision certainly similar levels of outreach to the community and to the police commission itself.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 7.
If I may, if I may through the chair, if there's, I think there's a sense of the commission, but if I would like this kind of have some formal direction regarding potentially an MSR for the Broadmoor Police Protection District. Doesn't need to be a vote, but staff can take that as interpretation for direction. And then if that's the case, we will move it to the nearest possible LAFCo hearing.
I was going to ask, can we make a motion on that today?
We can, it was labeled as information only item on the PowerPoint slide. On the agenda, it is not an information only item.
I guess we don't take a motion, but is there?
So we can give direction to staff. I don't know if there needs to be a direct motion about that.
It sounds like there was a consensus
Yes.
to do it, to do an MSR, to not only include the required items in an MSR, but also include information about the efforts that LAFCO has done and LAFCO staff has done to get information and what has come back or the lack thereof. And then and to do it as soon as possible so that we can provide the public with that information. I think I'm looking at my commissioners. Is that sort of it?
Total agreement.
Okay.
That's sufficient direction to understand.
Supervisor Slocum.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's an attorney on the line, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yes, there is.
Correct. Hello, Supervisor.
Yeah, hi, Kelsey. So I'm curious if you could answer Supervisor Mueller's question about the obligations. If the district goes bankrupt and there's a ballot measure and it's passed, are the taxpayers in the Broadmoor Police District still on the hook for those funds?
Commissioner, I'm not prepared to answer that question at this time, but I will note it and return to the commission with an answer.
How will you get us the answer?
I will send it through staff to the commission.
Could that be included in the MSR report? Is that non-standard?
I'll say sure.
Well, is that non-standard?
Well, it is staff's kind of discretion about what we look at from the fiscal angle of the district. And I think given the discussions that are circling around the district, I think it would be warranted to at least have a discussion about potential steps the district has taken in regard to bankruptcy and potential issues that may need to be addressed going forward.
If there was like a decision tree like that, it'd be helpful to understand.
This would be its third, should it be put on and passed, that would be the district's third special taxation.
It'd be their second. I
Oh,
believe.
second. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was
The
their
one,
third.
the one that they currently have, they have their general property tax. They have one special assessment currently. So this would be, I believe, the second special assessment.
And so the question, I think, is for both. This is really, is that if you have a special assessment and then you go broke, do they stay on?
Yeah,
Especially-
to maybe answer it somewhat in a simpler way. The legal entity, right? Bankruptcy does not dissolve the district. That is a formal process to LAFCo. So the legal entity of the Broadmoor Police Protection District would still exist. So any liability or any challenges would have to be faced then by the district at that point. It wouldn't be able to be put off towards other entities because the entity still remains.
So we have a special meeting in February. Could this be part of that agenda so we can at least get that information from legal counsel?
If
That's very specific. It's a specific question.
if we are able to
Get it.
address that particular question on the kind of the bankruptcy issue, and that I will say the bankruptcy question is a little bit outside the scope of LAFCo. So we'd have to then work with the county attorney's office to see what we could put together about what that particular question is. But if we can certainly try to have an answer to some of those questions in February. Yes.
But I mean, it's integral to the solvency and the health and the existence of the police district. So, I mean, I can see why the bankruptcy issue might be, but how it fits into the LAFCO's work, I don't think there should be a question
Because
about that.
you could have a district dissolve, you could have a district filed for bankruptcy and not have a LAFCO process. Right, the district could still exist.
But I mean, but the question is, the answer that we would want is specific to Ray's question. And if we can, and I think Warren asked when we could get that information instead of waiting until March, could we add this on to the February special meeting agenda?
Yes, if
Okay.
we're able to work with the county attorney's office to put something together, yes, we can.
Could I ask my colleagues, could we have an ad hoc put together to go ahead and work with staff and the county counsel's office to make sure that we get defining of those questions for county council for the consideration of the board? Because I'm volunteering for the ad hoc, and I will give everybody advance notice. I can't be here for the February meeting date. I already have a conflict on that date, and Supervisor Crozo has agreed to sit in my stead that day, but I would still like to be on the ad hoc to well define the questions. Yeah.
Right. What does the commission feel about having the ad hoc committee to help staff pose the questions? I'm seeing everybody says sounds good. So that is another direction to staff to help Commissioner Mueller and Chan Corelli to be a subcommittee, ad hoc subcommittee to help you pose the questions to county council.
That way we can also serve as, if county council has clarification questions, they can come back. So,
Okay.
great.
Alrighty.
Thank you very
If you bear
much.
with me for just 1 second, I'm sending a question to county attorney's office. Just to make sure we don't need a formal motion on the creation of the ad hoc.
All right. Well, can we just pause on this item and then go on to 7 and then we come back to it?
Why don't we just make the motion and
Yeah.
All
You
right.
could make the motion just to cover it.
What-
then I had one more question if I could. Mr. Director, I'm curious about the exact timeline for the MSR and our meeting schedule and how that all is going to come together. And then the other question I have, if I could, I'm sorry to bring this up now, but people have talked about, well, we need to educate the public. Who's going to do that education? Is that you?
So to answer the question about outreach from LAFCo, that would be LAFCO staff, that would probably be me. So I presented at the police commission and I presented at the property owner association meetings. Now, if there's education, that I think there should be education also from the district and to its residents about what is happening there too. But that seems to be the issue that we have here now.
I don't believe we can do, well, once it gets to the position of them making a political decision, we can't. All we can do as a body is create the information and then let those who would be involved in that election disperse it.
Yeah, I'm referring to the education and outreach component to the MSR specifically. That's
Right,
the-
but I think that is gonna be the
Yeah.
main source of information to the public, because I don't think that their board and the chief are giving that information. So in some ways, we have to create that as a reliance vehicle for their residents. Does that make sense?
that yes. Regarding the timeline for the MSR, like I said, we will try to our darndest for March for an update based on the ad hoc committee comments, particularly in February for that question, and then we will try to have an MSR for March, or if we need to schedule a special meeting in between in April instead of waiting until May, that is also a possibility.
Okay.
And I do have a recommendation from county attorney's office to have a motion for the creation of the ad hoc committee.
Okay. Do we have a motion to create the ad hoc committee?
Warren.
I'd like to nominate Virginia Chan Corrali, Supervisor Mueller to the ad hoc subcommittee to work with the county attorney's office.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Slocum and a second by Commissioner Warbeck. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chen Corrali,
I,
Commissioner Mueller, Commissioner Warbeck,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin. Yes. Chair Draper.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, now we can go on to 7, which is appointment of the Budget and Legislative Policy Committee for 2024. And Sophia has a presentation, and then at the end, we'll have direction from the commission to be on these 2 committees.
Yes, so every year the commission appoints members to serve on the Budget Committee and the Legislative Policy Committee. And typically the committees are represented by 3 members with a combination of county, city, special district, and public members. The Budget Committee provides direction to staff in the development of the LAFCO annual budget and review of the annual audit. That committee meets once prior to the March meeting, once before the May meeting, and on occasion prior to the September meeting if budget revisions are needed. The Budget Committee is currently comprised of Commissioners Mueller, Slocum, and Big Stick. The Ledge Policy Committee provides direction to staff on pending legislation affecting LAFCOs and reviews existing commission policies and provides advice on new policies as needed. That committee meets on an as-needed basis, and that committee, the Ledge Policy Committee, is currently comprised of Commissioners Warbeck, Martin, and Draper. So the recommendation is for the commission to appoint commissioners to serve on the Budget Committee and the Ledge Policy Committee for 2024.
Okay, let's take the Budget Committee first. Is there any volunteers to be on that? I'm volunteering myself.
happy to volunteer for that.
Okay. So we have two, right? We probably need a third. All right, so let's go over to the Legislative and Policy Committee. You said,
Commissioner Chankrali seems passionate that I be serving on this ad hoc with her, so, or commission with her, so
okay, all right.
committee, got it. So I'll be happy to do so this round.
I want to be on it because this is where we look at the work program and I want to make sure that our interests on the MSR are, well, I'm sure they will be, but that's why I'm on it. All right, and the Legislative Policy Committee, do we have any volunteers? Okay, okay. Harvey? Okay. Great. I think you have what you need. No.
If-
No, I
For,
don't think
for
we-
legend policy, I had Commissioner Mueller and Commissioner Harvey, who there was there a third? Commissioner Rohrbach, Commissioner Martin, okay.
Okay, now we're on to 8, which is the consider.
Yeah, if the commission could make a motion just to
Oh, I
confirm.
didn't know we need to have a motion on that.
And
Warren,
I can repeat, or you can just.
Warren
make
made the
names.
motion and I'll second it. And if we could do the roll call, please.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Slocum and a second by Chair Draper. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chinkarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martin,
Aye.
Chair Draper.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
Okay, now we have the item number 8, which is consider approval of the draft audit prepared by O'Connor and Company of the LAFCo. And we have a presentation.
Thank you, Chair. So the San Mateo LAFCO budget is not part of the county general fund and is placed in a separate trust fund. As a result, LAFCO is required to engage an independent auditor to prepare an audit of the commission's finances. O'Connor and Company has completed its audit for San Mateo LAFCO for the fiscal year ending in June 30, 2022. No deficiencies in internal controls or instances of non-compliance were noted, and there were no issues with the financial statements. One thing to note is that it appears on the financial statements that there was a loss in net position at the end of fiscal year 22 compared to the end of fiscal year 21. And this was due to revenue from member agencies that was received, revenue for fiscal year 22 that was received in fiscal year 21 and posted early. And as a result, had the effect of looking like there was more revenue than anticipated in FY 21 and less in FY 22. This issue has been addressed for both fiscal years 23 and 24. So the recommendation is to approve the draft audit prepared by O'Connor and Company for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022.
You want a motion for that? I'll make.
We have, let's see, do we have any questions of staff?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Big Stick.
Through the chair. So thank you for the amount of work y'all put in, and thank the contractor for the amount of work they put in, frankly. It was around packet page 219 that the question occurred to me because there's a big difference in financials, and I'm so very grateful that we have very robust, clear, detailed financials to work off of. I want to say that also. It's a simple question. Should I be worried at our apparent net loss in position? Because between 21 and 22, it seemed like there was quite a loss.
That is because we received revenue from the member agencies that was meant for fiscal year 22, but we received it early and it was posted to FY 21. So it just looks like there's a discrepancy. It really should have been charged for in FY '22. And so moving forward, we've kind of corrected that issue. So we do currently receive some revenue from member agencies in the fiscal year prior to the upcoming fiscal year, but we've organized it so that that doesn't happen moving
So
forward.
we work with the controller's office as part of the agreement about when we receive our revenue, that if we receive any revenue for the upcoming fiscal year, but in the prior fiscal year, they then showed that as deferred revenue, so that when we have our audit and do our bookkeeping, that it will show up in the correct fiscal year. In this fiscal year, that was the issue that came up, as we received additional revenue in the previous fiscal year. We crossed over into the next one, and then it shows that kind of net loss, but we will hopefully not have that issue going forward.
It's just that simple. So what I think I'm hearing is that things need to get shuffled around a little bit better way. There was a little bit of a lag, and now we're back on track.
Yes, and that was something that we made sure that the auditor knew when they were looking at our fiscal reports, to say that this is what that issue was.
Bottom line, I don't need to be worried.
The bottom line, yes, there's no worry on that issue, but it is good always to keep in mind and look at our net revenues and making sure that we are on track.
Thank you very much.
Jane Corrali.
Yeah, thank you. Rob, just a quick question for you and maybe Sophia as well. In reading the cover letter or the staff report in your summary, not the cover letter, the summary, it says that this is the 4th outside audit. So is there, I mean, there's kind of like best practices in terms of how many audits one firm should be doing. Are y'all looking, and I don't know what has happened in the past, but are you looking at possibly another firm once you hit and I don't even know if you have a target number of audits, because this is the 4th one, and usually I know that the fire district, I mean, it's like maybe 5 audits, and then it's highly recommended that you change firms to get a fresh look.
Correct. I believe it's 6 under state law for
Okay.
the requirements. So we will be probably looking to engage with O'Connor for one more year. And then looking past that to potentially new ones. Prior to O'Connor and company, we were part of the general county budget. So we were then covered when the county did its audits. And now that we are in a trust fund, we are a department for our own audits. But yes, that is something that we will be looking at in the future for our audit policy. Probably after this last audit that we have for fiscal year 23.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, public comments. Do you have any?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers. And at this time, we do not have any virtual hands raised on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, then I'll close the public comment. Do we have a motion for item number 7?
I'll move to approve the draft audit prepared by O'Connor and Company for San Mateo County LAFCo for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Please take roll call.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Chang Corrali and a second by Commissioner Big Stick. Commissioner Big Stick,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin,
Yes.
Chair Draper.
Yes,
Thank you, Chair. Motion carries.
thank you. Now we're going on to item number 9, which is the quarterly LAFCO budget update.
Mic is on, that would be good. So this is a budget update. We're about halfway through the fiscal year. Regarding revenue, LAFCO has received 100% of the 1/3 apportionment from member agencies. Application revenue to date is about 68% of the budgeted amount, and I think we'll get pretty close to what we anticipated, and total revenue received year to date is 99% of the budget. For expenditures, LAFCO is within budget for all expenditures except for legal notices, and right now it's only exceeded it by $353. Total expenditures year to date is at about 37%, but this is primarily due to the county charging LAFCO for certain services and support towards the end of the year. That said, we anticipate that year-end expenditures will be lower due to the clerk vacancy, but otherwise we are on track. Any questions?
And I should note as well is that the expenses for legal notices, while it's a budgeted item, those costs are typically covered by application fees. So that's not covered out of usually the general fund or the 1/3 apportionment. It's the notices for those public hearings for those meetings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers, and at this time, we have no virtual hands raised for item 9. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close item 9, and there is no motion that needs to be taken on item 9. And so now we're going back to item 3, which is which is the appointment of the chair and vice chair. Rob, you have a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Draper. So item 3 is an item that requests that the commission appoint a chair and vice chair for 2024. It is commission practice to appoint the chair and vice chair at the last meeting of the calendar of the upcoming year. This year, as the last meeting was the November meeting with the East Baldwin Sanitary District item that was then pushed to this meeting here at the beginning of the year. That it is custom that the positions rotate by type of commissioner in the following order: county, city, public, and then special district. If the commission desires to follow the traditional rotation with the current vice chair being Commissioner Martin, she would be then become chair, and then it would be appropriate to appoint a county member as vice chair. And the action should be taken by motion from the commission.
Do one motion for both. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
acceptable.
So basically, I mean, I'll make the motion to elect Vice Chair Martin and Supervisor Mueller to be chair and vice chair for 2024 respectively.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Thank you. That was a motion by Commissioner Chiancarelli and a second by Commissioner Rohrbach. Commissioner Big Stick,
Aye.
Commissioner Chiancarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrbach,
Yes.
Commissioner Slocum,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin,
Yes.
Chair Draper.
Yes.
Thank
Yay.
you. Motion
And now
carried.
you get the mic.
Oh, goody. For the really long. My apologies for being late today. They are cutting trees down on 92 about Half Moon Bay, and there was one across the road for a half an hour. So,
And I don't know, Commissioner Martin, if there were any public hands raised or comments on item 3.
Thank you. We do not have anybody wishing to speak in chambers, and there are no virtual hands raised on Zoom for item 3.
I've been paying attention. We're on item 10. Okay. The it's pretty back here.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. This is the legislative report. Yes. Sophie?
So LAFCo is currently tracking 11 bills, none of which are new in 2024, and there are no significant updates to existing legislation. So the legislative report is attached in the packet, and happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Do we have any questions to staff with regard to the legislative report? Hearing none, we will now open the public comment for item number 10.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers, and at this time, there are no virtual hands raised for item 10. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close the public comment for item 10. Is there any discussion about any of the items? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item number 11. This is the LAFCo 2023 journal, which I found very interesting, incidentally.
Yes, thank you, Chair Martin. And yes, there is a copy of the Spear from LAFCo, which is the 2023 journal from October, attached for your packet for your information. And I have no further items to report.
Thank you very. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you have any questions.
Oh,
Do you have a question, Ann?
I do. It's not a question. I do. At the, in this newsletter and at our annual meeting, there was a lot of discussion about putting conditions on and enforcing conditions and following through with conditions, which we've had a lot of that activity this last year. And it's unclear to me what LAFCo thinks about who would be enforcing those conditions. So if there's a trend towards LAFCO's putting on conditions, I'd like if we could ask back to LAFCO, if there are even enforcement mechanisms for implementing those conditions. So if you could.
So I think the question kind of is about, on the recommendations and conditions around a municipal service review, is that the kind of the topic, or is it about project related conditions?
No, it's about MSRs. And there was dialogue at the annual meeting that different counties are saying there should be conditions. And so I've thought interesting, but then there's really no enforcement of those conditions. And so if there could be if that's the trend to add conditions, then how do they get implemented in going back to LAFCO and perhaps asking the other LAFCOs throughout the state, what are their thoughts on that matter?
Certainly. And I think I think that will be an ongoing discussion at the LAFCO Legislative Committee throughout the year. But I think there are a couple of ones that have some thoughts, LAFCOs that have thoughts on that particular issue, and we'll see in the future if there's any legislation about that. We'll certainly keep the commission informed.
I'm a little lost on that. What kind of conditions are we talking about?
So there was a discussion at the LAFCO conference about making or having agencies respond directly to the recommendations that are in a municipal service review, and having potentially kind of more teeth, shall we say, to some of those recommendations from those agencies. I think there are some LAFCOs that feel more strongly about some kind of enforcement mechanism or follow-up to that, but there isn't anything really clear in law that would allow LAFCO to have kind of an enforcement mechanism regarding that MSR recommendations. So I think there might be some dialogue over the course of this year or in future years about that type of language. But that's certainly something that we can continue to follow at LAFCO to see if there is any additional discussions.
Are there any other, is there going to be any other discussion with regard to this item? This has a public comment period or,
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers, and there are no virtual hands raised on Zoom for item number 10
thank you.
or 11, sorry.
Yeah. Moving on to item 12.
Yes, staff has one update. So in 2022, LAFCO conducted a municipal service review for the Westboro Water District in South San Francisco. And then on December 7th, 2023, the district submitted an update to LAFCO, highlighting their progress on several recommendations that LAFCO made in that MSR. And that includes work related to updating the district's capital improvement program, agenda packets being posted on the district website, and working on updating fiscal policies of the district. And so that letter is attached for your reference that was sent to staff, and LAFCO staff would like to thank WWD staff for providing this update on the progress and recommendations and continuing to work with LAFCO staff over the year regarding these recommendations. I think it really does show kind of the follow-up process that we can have And again, the kind of the collaborative nature, hopefully that we can still in other MSRs as well. And it is good to see the follow-up from the district about those other items. Then if there's any questions about that, the commission, the last item I would like to say is just a thank you to outgoing Chair Draper for her work this year. It has been commendable in a year that we had a lot of large items before the commissions, probably that we have not seen in quite a few years. So I just want to thank her for her time as chair and working with LAFCo staff. It has been great to work with her. And we look forward to continue to seeing her work with her on the commission. And we look forward to working with Chair Martin. And that concludes staff's update.
Are there any commissioners who want to share anything with the staff at this point? Okay. Seeing none, we will open the public comment period for item 12.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nobody wishing to speak in chambers and there are no virtual hands raised on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for item number 13. Item 14 is the agenda or the the adjournment. At 3:51, 40, 51. I'll get it down, guys. A little different than this.